Hello and welcome to the CEO 1440, the Mortgage Broker Builder Show, where we talk about all kinds of things, mortgage related, real estate, title, you name it, a little bit of everything. And ultimately, we really talk about how can you maximize your 1,440 minutes every single day to live a better life. And today I've got a great guest. Gentleman's been in mortgage going 27 years. Started in Minnesota, came down across the border from Canada, and ICE didn't stop him. So he's here to talk to us about what he's got going on. Has been with all kinds of companies, has done a lot of great stuff, has a brand new book out, and recently took a position as Nexa's Chief Revenue Officer. And so he's here. We're going to talk a little bit about Nexa. I think it's a company that has some misconceptions, a lot of just different stuff. It's changed a lot over the years. And Eric's one of the new people inside of their C-suite, kind of spearheading a bunch of changes over there, and is a wealth of knowledge. So hopefully we can all glean some little things out of this conversation today that you might be able to use in your business. And if you're in mortgage, there's probably some things here that either will concern you, will scare you, will excite you. So they're talking about a lot of different things over there. What that translates to all of us inside of the industry. And as one of the big players does things, it impacts us all. Same way if Rocket does something, it impacts us all. So Eric, welcome. Thanks for jumping on here today.
Thanks, John. Excited to be here.
You've got a lot of exciting things going on. And you and I met just recently, not that long ago. Our paths crossed. I've taken a new job with a company called Zoom Casa, was talking to you about doing business together over at Nexa. And we got to talking, and I said, this would be a really good conversation for just anybody out there, and also to just spread the word and just get out what you're doing at Nexa and a little bit about you. You've taken a job. When was it that you went over? How long have you been with Nexa now?
August of last year.
August of last year.
9 months.
And in that 9 months, what has been the biggest? I always like the biggest surprise for you going over there.
It's always interesting when you start in a new role at a company, you think, right, from the outside looking in, you think, oh, yeah, I got the gist of what they're about and what they're doing and how it works. And then you get there and it's, oh, yeah, I didn't have a clue. Like, I miss so much because there's just a lot of noise. Our CEO is very vocal, right? And so so some people like him, some people don't like him, and that's okay. I always say that for me, I'm loyal to my family, right? My role is to come home to my family, earn as much money as I can by helping people. But I'm not loyal to the company, I'm loyal to my family. And so I'm not really concerned about someone being polarizing, right? I care about, does it work? And just the quantity of tools was the most shocking thing to me, just how many tools there were internally. And I don't want to turn this into a Nexa infomercial. Everything from 2-day payroll to we're launching servicing residuals for our loan officers so that loan officers can earn residual income off of mortgage servicing rights. We launched a digital mortgage using agentic AI where the consumer can originate their own loan with no loan officer needed. We're the first to market with it. We launched FSBO.com. We drive leads to our realtor partners. I could do this for 8 hours. Oh, we do this. And so it gets a little bit overwhelming for some people. I know it certainly did for me. Like just trying to learn all of the things that are available, it's pretty daunting. Like the daily trainings, like we all get an email every morning. Here's today's trainings that are optional. There's like 15 to 20 trainings a day. Right? It's like, what? How do I learn? Which one do I choose?
Yeah.
They're all recorded. You go into the library, pick one, whatever resonates with you. You don't need to learn it all. But just the sheer quantity of tools is probably the most surprising thing for me.
Yeah, I think that as I look across the great scape of what is mortgage, and you and I had talked about this before, that right, I started a company 3-4 years ago about helping bankers become brokers and was super bullish on an individual's best thing was get out of Loan Depot, wherever you work, go and file your LLC, set up shop and become your own thing because you have flexibility to do all these things. And all of the flat fee models with the companies similar to Nexa. And there's a bunch out there. And I believe there's a right fit for every person. And it might be for one person, the right fit is to go and work at Rocket Mortgage. And for the next person, the right fit is to go and start your own. And then there's a massive amount of people in between. And I used to be really bullish on people starting their own. And what I've seen happen now is so many companies, and Nexa being one of them, that have adopted these flat fee models have gotten really good. And they're not just a place to hang your license anymore. They are actually, it's a wealth of resources that provide the individual way more solutions at a faster rate of speed, execution, and all those things. And I think AI has probably helped because you have a big tech team that can roll out all those things and then can give it to your 3,000 people. And I am far less bullish today on starting a brokerage. And I tell people all the time, go and check out these companies. Make sure this is one of your options. And this is something that you explore as far as...
John, it's an option, right?
Yeah.
It's not, you're very spot on. Not every platform fits every person's skill sets. I can say for me, my personal skill set is business development, always has been. I don't make a good CEO. I don't want to deal with HR issues and payroll issues and tech issues, and I don't want to do that. And so being able to plug into a team that's better at all of that than I am, still have 100% payouts. Like and people always ask, 100% payouts, how do you do 100% payouts? So there's volume rebates. Like the loan officer is still getting the same wholesale rates as anybody else, but because we do so much volume, the company's able to earn bonuses, and so the company makes enough in bonuses that we don't have to take any of your paycheck. So wait a second, I get same wholesale I would get if I start my own company. I get 100% payouts, and I get all these tools and resources for free? Yeah. What? Why wouldn't I don't know why. I don't know. I think it's a lack of understanding, a fear of plugging into a platform that you're dependent on somebody. I don't want to be there are a lot of people in the mortgage industry who've had negative experiences, right? And so they may say, I don't want to be dependent on somebody. For me, starting your own mortgage company, like just the state licensing and the compliance and the audits and the HMDA reports and oh my God, no, I don't, all that stuff to me is just minutia. I don't want to deal with any of it. I just want to go help people. But that's me, right? That's just my passion. And I'm not saying it should be everybody, but I've found a home that works better than anything I've ever seen in the mortgage space. It got me over on this side of the fence when I got beat by 200 basis points. I always said when I was in retail, right, if you ever have a better platform than I do, I'll switch. And for 9.5 years, I built out a retail platform that nobody ever beat me. And then I got spanked one day really badly, and so I need to pay attention. What's going on here? And yeah, the wholesale non-Dell space is 200 basis points. On average, 200 basis points different than the IMB space. It's shocking once you do a deep dive on it. And so how do you not, what do you say? No, I'm okay just giving up 200 basis points on all my loans. No, I'm fine. I'm not fine. That's not okay. That 200 basis points is either better in my pocket or my client's pocket, and it's not better in the company's pocket. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I think that just what I look at is the way things evolving, being lean and mean and being able to move quick and do different things, which I think the broker space is just traditionally they've been a lot better at that. They've made quicker decisions. And I know Nexa is no longer a pure broker, right? They do a little bit like you're a hybrid after so many years. I know that people, they're doing this, they're a sellout. I think it's just how a business evolves. I've also noticed some things recently with, you said your CEO is quite charismatic, right? Like he used to be fighting with your old CEO all the time online, right? There was like two little 8th grade girls going at it. And like, I've noticed that maybe that's growing up too. He's talking about like business and things other than like how fast his jet flies and how you're stupid if you don't own your own jet. Like now it's, here's how we do business. So I'm seeing some like maturity there. Is that something that's like and I guess I wasn't going to talk about this, but is that like a conscious decision inside? Hey, Mike, like it's time. We're like taking it to the next level. And okay, from the outside, I'm seeing it and I'm saying this seems like a different guy. And I like this one more if I wanted to do business with him.
I would say he's always been that guy. It's a matter of surrounding yourself with people who give you access to truth. And luckily Mike's doing that and continues to do that. I came on board in August, but then we brought on a chief strategy officer and a chief financial officer and a chief growth officer. And our chief growth officer is now our company president, Jerry Farr. She's amazing. Okay. And so you get a lot of smart people around you that are saying, hey, this might be a better strategy. the kudos to him for listening, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of times CEOs don't listen. And so Mike listens. And now we're just so busy growing, he doesn't have time for any of that anymore anyway. There's too many other things going on now where you just can't pay attention to the mosquitoes of the world, right? Like the buzzing sound of whatever.
Somebody from the outside, right, that looks in, and I'm a firm believer that every single person, there is a ideal spot for them. I don't know what it is, and that's their job, is to go out and discover it. Same way there's a perfect wife for everybody, a perfect husband, the perfect dog. You have to go out and you got to pet a few dogs to figure out what kind you like. Do you like the golden retriever with the fluffy hair, or maybe you're a cockadoo, or I don't know. There is a good fit out there, and just from the outside seeing, it seems like Nexa's starting to grow up a little bit and losing some of that. Like maybe they had a little bit of a negative stigma a while back, which I think is good. And my conversations with you, I'm learning more and more about them, and I think it's super cool. Tell me about this FSBO.com thing. I saw a bunch of press releases on this. Just give me a little bit of just a little insight in there. I know more and more clients are trying to help sell their home for sale by owner. I know you're originally a Canadian, who a lot of people there, right, they do things different. A lot more homes sell that way. So tell me a little bit about
No, I would say when you look at just the mathematics of for sale by owner, FSBO, when people try and sell their own home, right, the vast majority of the time it doesn't work and they end up hiring a realtor anyway.
Yep.
I mean, vast majority of the time. They want to give it their best shot, and they have a perception that realtors are lazy, and which they're not, but right, there can be a perception of they get paid too much for doing too little. But then they put their house on the market, it doesn't sell, or they get lowball offers and it's not being marketed properly, and then they end up hiring a realtor anyway. And so what FSBO allows us to do, our loan officers, to go to market, contact for sale by owners, let them know that they can list on the website for, I think it's like $100 or something. It's like super inexpensive. Hey, list your house. They're not going to sell just being listed, right? You're probably not going to get any activity, but let's at least get it listed on a national platform. Then we help them with marketing, et cetera. And then when and if it doesn't sell, then we say, look, I've got this great realtor in your market that can get you what you're looking for. And as long as you net the same, does it matter? Because really what you care about in selling your house is your net. You don't care about the sale price. You care about how much money you get. And so as long as you net the same, what does it matter? And so it's a great lead generation tool for our loan officers to drive leads to realtors. It's amazing.
Yeah, I do a lot of webinars with Zoom Casa to real estate agents and talk to a lot of people. Like we're on the bottom of realtor.com. If you submit for a cash offer, you get right? Like you can go and get that. And in talking with a lot of clients, especially for sale by owners, is something I find everybody when they're selling their house wants the same thing. They want it to happen fast. They want speed. And for sale by owner, often they think they can get that. They want it to be easy. So they want it to be fast, easy, and they want a certain degree of certainty that they're getting a fair price. If you have those three things, you can win the deal. And people that start up for sale by owner, they usually don't think that they're going to get enough. They're missing one of those three pieces. And being able to stay in touch with them, nurture them along. If you're just any lender out there or real estate agent, understand that's the three things that they're after. They listed themselves because they're missing one of the three. Provide that missing link and you'll be able to get the listing, or they can become your client. And platforms like For Sale by Owner, you're just capturing that there and curating that business, keeping it warm until, like you said before, 96% of them end up selling with an agent. They just kind of have to start there and test it out themselves.
That's right.
It's kind of like me and my DIY projects. I start a lot of them, but end up hiring somebody to finish it.
You end up hiring a plumber or an electrician to come by and finish it.
Yeah, the bathroom remodel was a great idea. Yeah. And it was easy to knock out the first layer of drywall, but finishing the whole thing, that's something else. So that's cool. So you're taking those leads and then you're filtering them out to your agent partners, different people that your lenders work with across the country.
Yep.
So you're using it as currency, which is great. And then I wanted to talk something else, and I don't know how in the bowels you are with this, but I've done a lot of coaching with mortgage people. How much interaction is there really inside of the Nexa University? How much are those people reaching out? How much are they doing? How much are they really engaging and getting better? Do you have a feel for that? Like of the 3,000?
Oh, yeah. So we have almost 50 coaches now.
Okay.
Internally. And so loan officers that are struggling, They're closing one loan a month or one loan every other month or something's happening, right? They just don't know what they don't know. It's a great resource for them to be able to plug into learning how to run a system. How do I run a CRM? How do I run my calendar? How do I present myself more professionally to real estate agents, financial planners, CPAs, attorneys, insurance agents? What are some sample scripts that I can use that are more valuable than the average loan officer? You think about it, right? I think it's 85 or 90% of loan officers don't use a CRM. My first response there is you have no chance of surviving. There's no way you're going to make it over the next couple of years if you're not using a CRM for your daily activities. So let's start there. But then what are you using it for, right? How are you creating campaigns? How are you creating follow-ups? How are you integrating your calendar? How are you living by your calendar? How are you spending 3 hours a day prospecting? How are you time blocking? And these are all foreign concepts to most salespeople, right? Very foreign concepts. And so Nexa University breaks it down for them in group coaching, one-on-one coaching, access to videos, so they can, it's 9 o'clock at night, you put your kids to bed, and now I can watch a video. Great, here's the video library, get in and start watching. So you can start really taking your business to that next level. And when you get that one-on-one coaching with group coaching, you're holding yourself accountable with a group and also your one-on-one questions. It's pretty compelling, pretty powerful.
Yeah, I'm always curious in that there's so many resources out there today for people, and yet so many people struggle at the basics, just nailing some of the basic stuff. And this is probably a mindset shift that I had a few years ago, is that once I started meeting quite a few loan officers that made 7 figures a year out just being a loan officer. They're not running, like they're not a CEO of a company. They're running small sales teams and they're making 7 figures a year. And what I started to really realize, the difference between the person making $100,000 a year and $1 million a year, it's not that much of an effort difference. It's not like they're working 10
it's not. Oh yeah. Oh brother, it's not. You're not working harder or more hours.
It's that they have a better set of skills. My skill set, it's my effort times my skill equals my result. And so if you're listening to this, and I don't care, right? Like Nexa University, I've been in there, I've poked around, I'm trying to get inside of there to do stuff with Zoom Casa. That's on me. I haven't executed to get it over there. But it's the skills that you have. It's not your effort. You're not going to will yourself to more money.
Yeah,
it's how do I add those skills? How do I figure out how to be the best marketer on Facebook to drive more leads if you want to do that? How do I make sure that my sales process is impeccable to where I don't turn clients off, that I say the right things? How is it that my CRM set up to do things while I'm sleeping? And I think that it's the skill set. It's a gap in your skills is what's keeping you back. And if right now today you're making $200,000 a year, your skill gap is $800,000. That's the cost. That's what you're missing out on. So how do you fix those skills? And AI is not going to solve it for you instantly. How do you add those skills to get you to the next level? And it's your skill times your effort is going to equal your success. If you're not where you want to be right now, those nighttime hours need to be spent not binge watching Yellowstone or the Tiger King or whatever you're doing, and set aside some time to get better, because today's world's moving so fast, and a brand new person up and coming can gather the information you have and those additional skills, and they only need to be in the business for 6-8 months, and they can pass the 20-year vet that's sitting there saying, I don't need to learn anymore. I already know what I did. I learned it in 2001. It's different. So your skill set is huge. It's good to see that many people are in there. I've just found in trying to sell coaching and different stuff, a lot of people know that they need it, are just reluctant to do it. So if you found a mechanism that a Rocket Mortgage can do it, because they can force them, they can literally just force you to do the trainings. I found that the rest of the world's a little less apt to go out and do it. So I think that's great if people are jumping in there and actually using it.
Yeah, from a coaching standpoint, I'm always fascinated at when we lost the perception of the value of being coached. If you think about playing football in high school, right? If you do something wrong, right, your coach is grabbing your face mask and screaming at you about how worthless you are, and give me 4 laps in full gear, and you give them 4 laps and you run the whole thing, and otherwise you're off the team. But the coach is doing it so that you get better. you're not going to make that mistake again. And then we grow up, we go out into the real world, and we don't want to be coached anymore, and yet we think we're going to get better. And it just doesn't work that way. I've always sought out mentorship and coaching from people that are experts. Like, how do I learn what you know and then implement it, right? And so it's always interesting to me, they closed 6 loans in the last 12 months, and their first words are, the way I do things, I don't care how you do things. You close 6 loans in the last 12 months. Like, whatever your strategy is, it closes 6 loans in 12 months, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't work. So stop it.
Yeah, I'm in Michigan, and we had Rasheed Wallace here. And he used to always say, as a basketball player, do you Rasheed?
Yep.
So he would always say, the ball don't lie. Meaning the ball doesn't lie. Your W-2, your paycheck doesn't lie. That's a reflection of your skill set. I have a thing that's near and dear to me. I like to, with any teams that I run, we always have one premise, and that is that we're all coaches and coachable. Nobody's, right? We're all a player coach. You have to be coaching the people next to you. But what I think happened is people got afraid to offend somebody. Sometimes you need to hear that your sales call sucked. But we live in a world now where you don't want to offend everybody, and everybody's beautiful. No, everybody's not beautiful. 50% of the people are less than average.
Your haircut and my haircut are proof of that.
Yeah, the beautiful thing about it is we're still like, our heads are relatively round. We could have some other things going against.
I don't have any major dents.
Yeah, no, there's not like anything. There's not, I wouldn't say on a scale of 1 to 10, I wouldn't land myself closer to but I think that my own perception is better than average. Probably slightly.
I agree. I'm a strong 6.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's really funny to think about it in driving aspects. Very few people, right? If you think about it, half of the people on the road are less than average drivers. Nobody you talk to will ever, there is a very small percentage of people that say, I am a poor driver. Most people think that they're pretty exceptional. But if you think about it, half of the people are less than average. And if you want to become better than average, like the best way to learn to drive in snow, you got to get out there with somebody that's driven in snow and go and do donuts for an hour in a parking lot. You will feel way more comfortable driving in snow. So yeah, it's crazy that we no longer look for feedback. And I think that it's only went down because of COVID. And once COVID and everything happened, I think that things got even worse. Because we used to sit in offices and you'd learn from the person next to you via osmosis. You heard what the guy was selling 3 cubicles over. You started to use his word tracks. And now you sit in a dungeon someplace. You don't do anything. And you watch TikTok videos about how you're supposed to sell according to whoever's selling on TikTok. And it definitely creates problems. So,
for sure.
What you got a book coming out. Tell me about that. Or is it out?
Yeah, no,
already?
It came out, The Why of Money. It was a passion project from a place of trauma. I had a traumatic event that made me do a tremendous amount of research so that I wouldn't feel that trauma again. Back in 2004, my mentor at the time, that was 2004, I'm in the mortgage industry, making more money than I had ever dreamed of. And he came and did a site visit and gave us lots of really good feedback, ways to improve. And we impressed him. Like, it felt good. And so he and I were going to dinner after, and I got constructive feedback from him, but I was still feeling pretty good. Went and had dinner, and he said at dinner, by the way, Eric, I'm just curious, like, what are you going to do with the money? Like, all this money you're making, like, why is it important to you? And I'll never forget looking at him, not understanding the question. I was like, what? Huh? Because it's money. What? I understand. And for the very first time, he looked at me, and I could see disappointment in his eyes. And it was crushing. Like, it crushed me. Like, I've disappointed my mentor for the first time. This is bad. But I still don't have a good answer. And so I went on this journey of what is a good answer to that question?
Right.
Why do you want money? Why does anybody want money? What's the right answer? And so I learned in asking, and so one of my criteria is if I'm going to accept your answer, you have to be a self-made millionaire and you have to sell for a living, right? So mortgages, real estate, financial planning. I don't care what you sell, but you have to sell for a living. You have to make more than $1 million a year and you have to be self-made. And when I would ask that question, and at the time it was hundreds and hundreds. Now it's in the thousands. But at the time, I noticed a very clear pattern that there was only 5 answers that came back from the millionaires. It was common, same 5 answers. If I talked to somebody less than $1 million a year, it was things like security, less stress, I want to take a vacation, I want to buy a nicer car, I want to buy a nicer house, I want to this, I want to whatever. That's all the people under $1 million. People over $1 million? No, man. That wasn't the answers. I put the 5 answers into a synopsis, sent it to a couple of friends. One of my friends knew a book publisher. He forwarded it on to the book publisher. They called me and asked me to prove the theory. So I did. And they're like, oh, wow, you did. We didn't think you were going to be able to prove it. It's, yeah, it's pretty clear cut. And so they gave me a book deal, gave me 6 months to write the book. I wrote the book, and we launched before the pandemic. It was like the end of 2018, going into 2019. We launched.
Okay. Exciting. So what is the one key characteristic? I haven't read the book.
So there's 5 answers, right? And the premise has to be is that it's not about the money. Like, you don't want the money for the money. You want the money for what the money brings you. It's bringing you something. And so one of them is a lifestyle enhancement. Not that you're doing it because you want a car, but you're doing it because you're trying to get away from something. You had a bad childhood. You're just going to outwork everybody. You came from a third world country. You came from a bad neighborhood, beaten as a kid, something. You're just like, I'm just never going to go back. And so I'm just going to outwork everybody forever because I'm just never going to go back. So that's one possibility. The second one was emotional gratification. So that drove me for 30 years, right? My dad installed a bunch of bad software in my head, right? And I had to prove him wrong. And so for 30 years, it was a big driver for me. Number 3 is creating opportunities for your children. Number 4 is taking care of your parents. Number 5 is legacy. Something you want to create a permanent footprint. Something that says, I was here. And so those are the drivers. And then I do this exercise where I won't do it on this podcast, but when somebody says, prove it. Okay, that's you and I play a game. And then at the end of the game, like, yep. Because when you do things for money, you'll stop. There's a stopping point. But when you do something for your why, for your driver, there's no stopping point.
Yeah, I have something really interesting here. And this is right. Again, I talk about maximizing your 1,440 minutes every day. And I do not believe you can do that without understanding your why. I'm actually going to share something with you here. This says Project 100 at the top. This right here has probably impacted my life more than any one thing prior to or ever since. So back, I have a 10-year-old son now from his second marriage. I started having kids again and I really decided, hey, I need to live to be 100 years old to be a good dad. Like, they're going to have kids when I'm in my 70s, 80s. So I literally mapped out like how the age of when I turn 100, how old all of my kids are going to be. Like, I have my son, Jack, who's 23 today. He's going to be 69. I think that he'll have kids between the ages of 30 and 40. I'll probably have great-grandchildren with him somewhere between the ages of 1 and 10. And then my son, Cooper, my son, Duke, my daughter, June, my wife, Natalie. What is their life? If I project myself out until 2072, when I turn 100, what does their life look like? And then I started to say, okay, that's my why. What do I want to be able to do with those people out there? I have things on here. I want to be able to pick up my grandkids overhead. I want to still be able to walk a 5K. I want to be able to jump off the back of a boat, ride a bike. I still want to go hunting alone, the redneck in me. You can see deer horns back there. Like, I still want to be able to get out and do these things. And more or less everything in my life is tied into that today. I work to have money to spend when I'm 100. I'm not working to buy a new car today, right? So like your why all starts tying into that. What I eat, the way I work out at the gym, kind of everything ties back into my why. And it's very simple to make a decision today whether or not to eat the 9th piece of cheesecake or stop at 4. And that, is it helping me get any closer to my goals, yes or no? And I have 1,440 minutes every day to do this. So if you want a great exercise, look at your kids and say, how long would I like to be involved in their lives and their kids' lives? Define an age and then start mapping. And I have all kinds of, I've listened to so many podcasts on longevity and lifestyle and different things, but your why. So I think that your reasons would probably pan out.
Can I ask you some questions about your why?
Fire away.
Okay, so first of all, kudos to you that you've mapped out all the age requirements and health requirements, right? But one of the things that I noticed is that you were listing all of the health requirements, but not the financial requirements. And so what are the financial requirements? Because my book is more about the financial requirements. I don't know that I wouldn't classify myself as an expert on health. I'm trying to be. But from a financial standpoint, like, what are the emergency situations that are going to come up, right? That statistically, mathematically, having that many kids and that many grandkids, right, there's going to be emergency situations. What are the college opportunities to help? What are the vacation opportunities, right, to get everybody, like, because if your grandkids become teenagers, right, how do you get grandkids that are teenagers all in the same room? It's next to impossible, right? Parents are having trouble with it. Forget about the grandparents having trouble with it. And so how do you budget for, because there comes a time where even Christmas time, it's hard to get everybody, right, under the same roof, even for Christmas. And so a friend of mine, and I wish I thought of this, but it's somebody else, but it landed with me. He said, the easiest way to get time with your teenage kids is to buy a boat. Because if you got teenage kids and you have a boat, your kids want to be on the boat on the weekends, right? They want to spend time with you.
Sure.
You have a boat, right? Okay, what does that boat cost? And et cetera, et cetera. And there's these financial requirements that come with all of that as well. And so mapping out all of your financial requirements helps someone understand that I'm not prospecting to get a deal. I'm prospecting to spend time with my kids or my grandkids, right?
Yeah,
this dot equals that money, which equals that freedom, which equals that amount of time more with my kids. Health is a big piece. You have to focus on that, no question. But I know a lot of healthy people that aren't earning enough money, and it creates stress and divorce and all this other stuff because it's not just enough to be healthy, nor is it just enough to make money. It's a matter of getting it all. But I find some people just aren't focused on the activities of really what does it take to make money.
Yeah, I already own a boat. I have a cottage in northern Michigan.
There you go.
And
Hold on. So, like, right away, man, you're already top 1% of the top 1% of the top 1%. I have a boat. I have a cabin. My kids like spending time with me because I've designed this life that people want to spend time with me.
Yeah,
but most people haven't done that, John. You got to sit back and give yourself a little pat on the back there, man. A little pat on the back that says, hey, I did this on purpose.
I think that you have to be very intentional with everything that I go back to that 1440. I have 1,440 minutes every single day to determine what the next, right? And I say that today is the most important day of the rest of your life because the decisions you make today, right? Whether I decide to drink and drive and get in a car accident, whether everything impacts what's going to happen next. So all of those decisions, right? Do I text and drive? We're all a second away from our lives being completely and totally different. Being very intentional. I bought a cottage back in 2005. And the reason I bought the cottage was I wanted there to be a place where when my kids were older, we could all go to on a weekend and everybody wanted to go. Right? So I bought a cottage. It's on a lake. I went through a divorce and that was the place that my kids that was the place that we always went. We talk about it now going there. We have a boat. We have four-wheelers. We have a bunch of stuff there. The current house that I live in, I have 30 acres. My plan, hopefully, is to have enough land to actually build houses around it. So my grandkids don't have to go anywhere. I'm just going to give them a house on the land. And then, they just come and live there.
God, you should write a book.
So hopefully.
How to build a life on purpose. I love it. I'll be your first customer.
Hopefully, yeah, it's a lot of work to write a book. I can't ever do the work that I'm supposed to be doing at work. But again, you just have to be very intentional of not where you are today, but of where you want to be in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. And too many people are trying to, right? So I took this new job and I'm with a company called Zoomcasa where I'm in charge of all their sales, and similar to you going over there, right? You have to do this business development stuff and it's a dance. But none of the decisions I'm making today are for my sales team today. They're all for what I envision the sales team is going to look like in 6 months. Yeah. And that's the same decisions you have to make in your life. And too often we make the decision of what makes me happy today, but that may not be the decision that makes you happy in 6 months. So just being, again, intentional and saying, what am I really doing here today? And will it serve me well in the future? And it's a binary question. They're almost always the answer is yes or no. It's not a maybe. It's either it will or it will not. And I just think that through the course of the day, and this is something that I've noticed in all high-performing people. And I know people that are billionaires, I know people that are millionaires, and I know people that are $1,000 heirs. The ones that make way more, for the most part, they're super intentional. They have a plan. They don't let other things, they're not easily distracted. Like they don't, I bet you can't just call Elon Musk and he doesn't just pick up the phone and talk to you for 30 minutes. You probably have to schedule time with him, would be my guess. And then he's probably not free with his time. You're probably, if you can get 10 minutes is a lot, he's not booking things for an hour. And I know when I reach out to you, like you push everybody into your calendar. You want to talk to me, go through the calendar. Because I know if I want to be effective with my time, I have to be in control of it. I can't just let anybody else hijack
That's
it.
correct.
But people learn that's part of the skills to go from making 40 grand a year to 100 grand a year. You become a little bit more dialed in. 100 grand a year to 500. And this whole podcast, we're at like 40 minutes, but this is, I think, just real stuff that the way that you design your life, the company you work for, all those choices dictate what your outcome is going to be. And when you get old, you're going to look back and either regret the decisions that you made or be proud of them. So, yeah, do things that your future self would be proud of.
Totally agree, man.
Anything else? So you've been in this space for a long time. I'll kind of start wrapping it up a little bit here. Anything that you're just seeing, I know you're inside of Nexa's world today, but where do you see like kind of the loan officer, the salesperson? I know you guys are doing big stuff over there with AI. I know people all over the place. A lot of the easier tasks are being taken over by, AI, computer learning, different things. Where do you really see the niche of the high value loan officer 2-3 years down the road? You're trying to recruit those people today, bring them over to Nexa. What do you see, or what do you envision that looks like? Because it's probably a little different than what it was 5 years ago. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah. So it's not that I don't believe that technology is going to replace loan officers. I do believe that loan officers that adopt technology are going to replace loan officers that don't. Very simple concept.
100%. Yeah, no, it's...
And so if you're a loan officer and you're doing the same daily tasks today that you were doing 4 years ago, or worse, longer than 4 years ago, you're already behind the eight ball. Like you're in trouble. You're in big trouble. Whether you think you are or aren't, doesn't matter. And so agentic AI, like we're first to market. We've launched agentic AI inside the point of sale. And so like we've got our loan officers, and you choose it, right? The consumer can choose it. But the consumer can go in, put in their first name, last name, email, phone number, password, create an account, and that's enough information to do a soft credit pull. The agentic AI comes in, does a soft credit pull, runs AUS findings. The client's just starting their loan application, and the agentic AI is coming in saying, hey, congratulations, we've already approved your loan. Here's the conditions we need. Now, you can upload them if you want, or click this button, I'll just go get them for you. It's what? Okay, click the button, and it's just day one certainty, but the agentic AI goes and does it, right? Pulls in tax returns, bank statements, pay stubs, scans them, analyzes them, updates the information, reruns AUS findings, loans approved, we're done, conditions satisfied, appraisal, waiver. Congratulations, loans approved. Would you like to close next Thursday or Friday? Which one's better for you?
Yeah, it's...
This is seconds, right? And so... Now, does that replace the loan officer? No, it doesn't replace the loan officer because sometimes deals fall out. Sometimes the borrower isn't going to qualify. Sometimes it's more complicated than that. And so a lot of times the loan officer has to step in and deal with it. But when the easier way to think about it is from a processor or an underwriter standpoint. I find it's a lot easier for loan officers to grasp it this way. 4 years ago, you would say to a processor or an underwriter, can you submit or clear 2 new loans a day, 2 brand new loans a day, and can you clear 5? Submit 2 new or underwrite 2 new, right. Clear 5. And that was a good 8-hour day for an underwriter or a processor, right? 2 and 5. And then it was 2 and 6, and then it was 3 and 7. Now with AI, it's more, can you submit 6, right, and clear 20. And then it's going to be, can you submit 20 and clear 80? Right? Same amount of time, same 8 hours. but you're using AI to clear the conditions and do the submissions, right? And does that mean processors are going to be unemployed? No, it means some processors are going to be unemployed who don't adopt technology, because you're still doing 2 and 5, and the processor next to you is doing 80 and 150 at the same 8 hours. And so I say the same thing to loan officers. If your strategy of being a loan officer is to close one loan every other month, and you're not using a CRM and you're not using technology, then how are you going to be valuable? What? Because you're a nice person? Okay.
Yeah.
That maybe, but I don't think you're going to build a career off of that. Versus once the agentic AI is streamlined, why can't I go to Google headquarters, walk into their HR director, and roll out a national company mortgage program for all Google employees, no loan officer needed, at a reduced margin? Do it yourself for all Google employees. Now I'm closing 200, 300, 400 mortgages a month with little to no staff.
Yeah,
So it's changing, brother. And it's not changing slowly; it's changing quick. And so for those loan officers that are adopting technology at a fast pace, good for you. For those loan officers that are not adopting technology, you're going to have some pain.
Yeah, I think that what I'm seeing is you used to go out and hire a processor, and the processor did 15 tasks. And the better they could accomplish all 15 tasks were the better off that was a good processor. If they were good at calculating income, what you now have is 8 bots, 8 AI agents that cost you nothing per hour or virtually nothing per hour. And you have one that's just great at flawless at tax returns. And you have one that's flawless at updating HOI. So now the processor only has 2 roles. And of the 15, those only 2 roles are actually the communication with the client and making them, right, like answering questions, being there. And that's what now occupies their day. And the other ones, because the AI agents, I can have unlimited numbers. So they're going to be moving from like this role where you had a human that did the role to there's now going to be a bunch of agents that accomplish different tasks. And again, you might be a processor that's closing 200 deals a month because but you're just the communication face. You're just the one talking to them, and probably can get paid a lot more. And as I see that shift happening, the companies that have scale, and this is why I went from being very bullish on opening your own to way less bullish, because the companies that have the resources to put all those agents in place, they're going to be able to, where it's going to change, loan amounts are going to continue. We'll be well over $1 million on a conforming loan here in the not too distant future. You can't expect to continue to get paid 300 basis points on something where AI is doing. So I think margins are going to continue to get smaller. Profits may actually go up. Companies may be able to cut massive amounts of margin out of the loan that they make, dollar-wise.
Yeah, the human capital is not as neat.
The human capital, they don't have that. There is no hiring, firing. There is no health insurance. There is no nothing. And they'll be able to run a much leaner and meaner system. And maybe some companies just do what would have been a Fannie Freddie loan with a PIW and the work number. That's all they do. But that happens to just be 65% of the loans. They just do those 65%, and they do them instead of at 300 bips, they do them at 130, and it only costs them 25 to process. And they're pushing 100 bips to the bottom line.
Dude, you're speaking a lot of truth right now, man.
If you don't see that's where it's going, the same way the guy that was a shoveler, the first time he saw a backhoe, if he didn't see that the backhoe was going to replace him as the shoveler, like he needed to learn how to drive the backhoe.
The guy who ran the horse and buggy manufacturing facility, seeing a car, you better recognize that your horse and buggy manufacturing facility is in trouble.
Yeah, there's a Henry Ford quote that Henry Ford said, had I asked them what they wanted, they would have said faster horses.
Yeah.
This has been fun. And I think that for the most part, it's been great to get to know you. I think that we're just 2 old guys that are 6s with bald heads that have been lingering around the mortgage space way too long. But I think that it's great to just think about what could be what is the Kamala Harris thing? Think about what it could be unburdened by what it has been. Is that the saying? There's some Kamala Harris thing that she said that was funny. But we're in a really unique place right now as a mortgage industry in that we're like everything that we know, it's all kind of changing. And I think that for the individual loan officer that wants to go and get after it today, there's probably the lowest barrier of entry because you used to have to know Fannie guidelines, Freddie guidelines. You know, every guideline at your fingertips. You can now price hundreds of loans simultaneously, instantaneously. All of that hard stuff is all gone. And now can you take care of your clients? Are you willing to work on a process? Can you put systems in place? And if you can do those things, and there's companies out there that do all of the crap on the back end for you, and you just have to get in and take care of your clients and add value there, I think it's an exciting place to be if you're a loan officer or originator that wants to just go out there and do a kick-ass job.
Yeah, look, if you want to implement new, it's a great opportunity. If you want to do the same thing you've been doing for 20 years, then it's a bad opportunity.
Yeah.
But that's your choice. That's your goal. By the way, for you and for anybody else watching, I foster dogs, and my dog has decided, that's why my arms are moving. My dog's decided now is when he needs to play tug of war. And so sorry I'm moving around a little bit. It's just my dog has decided now is the time.
You're totally good. And now is the time for us to kind of wrap this up. So just one thing I'd like to throw out there. Feel free, if anybody has questions about Nexa, what Nexa does, going over there. They've been around for a really long time. They're doing a lot of really great stuff. Eric's over there overseeing business development, chief revenue officer stuff. He's got his hands in a lot of pots. Reach out to Eric if you have questions. If you just have questions, like I'm happy to give anybody unfiltered advice. I'm super transparent. I do believe that everybody that's listening to this, there is a best place for you. I don't necessarily know it, but I can probably point you down a path to ask the right questions. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm not affiliated with, I don't get paid by anybody. Like, just come to me. I'm happy to give you any answers I can. But if you're thinking about making a move, don't know what to do next in your career, you got questions about Zoom Casa, anything I can help with, I'm just here to share a little bit of my 1,440 minutes with each of you. And any way I can help your business grow, I'm a very big believer in if you throw enough stuff out there into the environment, things come back to you in a positive way. So I believe in karma. So happy to share anything I have. And Eric, like I said, I met him recently. Great guy, wealth of knowledge inside of the mortgage space. Super fired up about all the things he has going on over there at Nexa, which to get an old seasoned mortgage guy fired up means they must have some pretty good things actually happening because we filtered through all the BS by this point. But Eric, I truly appreciate it. It was great to have you on here. I know I actually kept you a little longer than we said we were going to, but I appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Hey, have a great day.
You too.
Thanks.